Hi, I'm Muddy. This is Moments with Muddy, a space for healing, soft living, and showing up as a whole. I'm glad that you're here. I have been on this healing journey for about 4.5 years now. And I've been through a lot of loss and a lot of trauma, and I didn't even really realize how deep I was in it until one day I just sat down and I thought about what are my priorities? Like, what are all the things that I need to take care of? And when I wrote down or thought about the fact that I'm a wife, I'm a mom, I run a business, I have my mom that I help out, and I have all these different priorities, but I was nowhere on my list. I did not list myself anywhere on my priority list. And that's where I decided like I need to really like get it together. I really need to work on healing myself, becoming a better version of myself, improving myself. And I went through a lot of things. Like I went through therapy, I cried about it, I yelled about it, I crashed out about it. And I finally started to feel like, okay, I'm getting my self care routines back on track. I'm taking my mental and physical health seriously. I felt like I was starting to do all the things. And then I just hit a standstill. I hit a plateau. I didn't feel like I was improving. I just felt like I was stagnant. But in that feeling stagnant, I felt stuck and I felt overwhelmed and I felt confused. And I realized that sometimes when you're in a state of healing and trying to be a better version of yourself, you're going to hit that wall. And when you hit that wall, that's the most important time for you to really sit and ask yourself why. So, again, I took it upon myself to sit with myself again and really analyze what it is I'm really feeling, which is really hard to do when you're so used to the noise of, mommy, I need this, babe, I need that, I need this, Maria, I need this. Can you do this? You don't even know how to like sit in silence with yourself, because when you do have silence, all you're thinking about is the people who may need you and when someone's going to call or when someone's going to reach out or when, think about all the things that are going to crash and burn. But it's important to be able to sit with yourself and ask yourself, why am I stuck? Why do I feel overwhelmed? Why is it that I feel purposeless? I feel like I don't know what I want to do tomorrow. I don't know what I want to do with my life. And even if you do know what it is you want to do, why can't you just do? Like, why can't you just move forward? When I sat with myself and I really looked into myself, I realized that I've been healing and moving for 4 years and I need to start over. Now, that might sound counterproductive. That might sound like, what the hell do you mean start over? I just did all this work. Did I do something wrong? You didn't do anything wrong. I had to tell myself you didn't do anything wrong. But what you did is that you were healing, operating on the old version of yourself. Who you were when you were 8 years old and you didn't have kids and you didn't have a husband and you had more energy. And yes, you were dealing with a lot of the traumas that you were going through. You were dealing with a lot of neglect, emotional abuse, maybe even physical abuse, whatever it is that you were going through. Yes, you went through that when you were younger and you heal through that. But that epiphany that you get, that it's like, not only am I not who I used to be, I have to actually build and evolve into the new version of myself. And that is when starting over kicks in. That is when you realize that, when you were younger and you were restricted and you weren't able to dream and you weren't able to do the things you wanted to do because you were always told to be quiet, sit down, you're too loud, you're too much. Now it's like you realize that you're an adult with free will. You can literally, quite literally create the life that you want. And I don't mean with regards to resources, because some of us do have limited resources. Some of us do not have the time or the money or the skill set to always just wake up tomorrow and say, I'm going to do this. Wouldn't that be nice? I'm sure a lot of people wish that they could. I sure do wish I could. But we don't always have that. But taking that first decision to step into the person To step into the individual who does have the resources and the means to do it is what starting over is. And as I start over, as I turn over into this new version that I know that I really deep down want to become, but it's so hard to step into her. I have to take a couple of steps. I have to do a couple things in the beginning in order for me to really like catapult, to really launch into that person that I want to be. And if you're somebody who has either started their healing journey and feels stuck like I do, or want to start healing but don't even know where to start because you just don't know what to do, or maybe you've started your journey and started again and again and again and again, which there's nothing wrong with. I think you can benefit from a couple of things that I started doing in the last like few months that I really genuinely feel a difference in myself, and the people around me notice it too. Hopefully, these things help you feel a little bit less stuck and a little bit more at peace. So, the first thing that I really, really needed to do was actually prioritize myself. And when I say prioritize myself, I don't only mean like, back in that time where I was going through my list of all of my priorities in my brain and I realized I wasn't on the list. Okay, so in the last 4.5 years, I started putting myself on the list. But what I noticed is that every time something gets added to the list, I get lower. Like I kept putting things over myself. And perfect world, we always want to put our kids before us, our husband before us, our loved ones before us. You know, even our jobs sometimes people put before themselves. But I realized that I had to be number one. Like I have to be first on the list. And being first on the list is not a selfish thing to do, depending on your version of selfish, because I don't see anything wrong with being selfish, as long as it doesn't come with a negative connotation. But it's necessary because you want to show up for all these things and all these people, but you cannot show up for them the way you need to if you're not at your best. You cannot show up as your best self unless you're in your best state. So I have to put myself number one. I have to make sure I'm well rested, I'm well fed, I take care of the things that I'm procrastinating on for myself so that I'm not pouring from an empty cup, because it reached the point that my cup, it was like a drought. I was pouring air. There was nothing to pour into people because I spread myself way too thin, saying yes to everything, showing up for everyone. It's especially hard when you show up and it's not reciprocated when it's time for people to show up for you, which is one of the reasons why I noticed that I needed to be not only on my list of priorities, but I need to be number one. I need to be on the top of the list. And the list shifts around day to day, circumstance to circumstance. Like tomorrow, I may not need to be number one for tomorrow. I might need to put my kids as number one for tomorrow because we got whatever we got going on with the kids. But in your general scope, you should always be first. Like when you wake up in the morning, instead of thinking about all the things that you need to do, the baby's appointments, and your husband asks you to do this, and you got to show up to your business for that, or you got to show up to work for this, or you got to do that, got to do this. Instead of that being the first thing you need to do is take a deep breath and assess, how am I feeling right now? What do I need right now? How can I serve myself right now? And even if showing up for yourself and serving yourself means taking a deep breath when you wake up in the morning to center yourself, that's cool. You are number one on your list for the day. You know, it doesn't always have to be a grand thing. It doesn't have to be a self-care day. It doesn't have to be, I'm going on a solo date. It doesn't have to be retail therapy. All those things sound very nice, but it doesn't have to be that every day. Showing up for yourself can literally just mean taking an extra couple minutes to make yourself a cup of tea this morning and looking out the window. It could be something very small that just helps you feel grounded. Because I think a lot of times we looking to feel this grand feeling of happiness and peace and overwhelmed with joy, but ultimately you just need to be grounded. You just need to be present sometimes. And that is the mindset shift that kind of helped me realize that. It's time to really like take your time and prioritize how you feeling. Because if you know how you feel, you can regulate whatever it is you need to regulate, and then you can show up in all the spaces as the best version of yourself. And speaking of prioritizing yourself, the next thing that I really needed to start doing was knowing when and how to enforce boundaries. We hear about boundaries a lot, but there's a mindset shift with boundaries that I did in the last, I would say, year and a half that really changed the game. Because I feel like a lot of times we think that boundaries is like cutting people off, just cutting them off, cutting them off. I'm not dealing with you. I'm not talking to you. I'm not answering your call. I'm not answering your text. And yeah, that could be part of what it is to set boundaries, right? But I realized that setting boundaries is actually your way of teaching people how to treat you and telling people what you are and are not going to accept, and you being okay with that, and it not coming with guilt. You're going to feel a little guilt in your stomach because that's how most of us are. We don't want to make our loved ones or people that we care about feel like, I don't want you around me and stuff like that, unless they are truly a detriment and a danger to your peace of mind and even to your physical being. But my setting my boundary comes with how I carry myself. It's not always about an action. It's not always about an action. It's about how you show up in spaces, how you give yourself to the people around you, and how frequently you do it, and the energy that you come with. Sometimes that is what a boundary is. It's not always about that relational part of it. It's not always about the relationship. Sometimes it is genuinely about your energy and what you're willing to take and not take, and the people around you sensing that energy. It's hard to do because when I started doing it, a lot of people started treating me a little different. But it's like the saying goes, it's cool when you do it. It's a problem when I do it. Like I'm not always trying to show up at my maximum level when my cup is dried out. I sometimes need to be like, you know what? Showing up doesn't really serve me today. Or showing up for this amount of time doesn't serve me today. Or showing up with this amount of energy doesn't serve me today. It's about what serves you. And I feel like when you shift that mindset when it comes to boundary setting, it becomes a little easier. Because over time, when you realize that you're prioritizing yourself and then you're setting boundaries based on that priority, it teaches you about how the people around you truly care about you too. Because if I'm showing up for me, or if I'm telling you I got stuff going on, or if it's very apparent that I'm busy and I got stuff going on, you care about me, that shouldn't bother you. If anything, you should be like, all right, cool, we'll get to it when you get to it. So it really teaches you about your environment, the people around you, and then you know how to move accordingly. But that is like an active decision that I had to make. And over time, the guilt started to diminish and diminish and diminish and diminish. And I feel like that mindset shift did exactly what it needed to do. It did exactly what it needed to do because now I'm finally in a place where I know when I need to pause, I know when I need to reset, and I know when I go, how hard I need to go. Like it taught me to just always be checking in, always be checking in. So knowing when and how to enforce boundaries and having this mindset that like it's not about my relationship with you, it's about how I feel about myself, it's about my relationship with myself. And over time, that boundary setting, you're gonna feel such a difference. You're gonna feel such a difference in your healing journey. Trust me. Another concept when it comes to boundary setting is that when I mentioned a little bit earlier about how you will realize how people see you as a result of you setting boundaries through your energy. There's people, I never wanted to truly believe this, but there's people who just don't want to see you thrive. Like there's people who just, they benefit from the unhealed version of you. They benefit from you not prioritizing yourself because they always got somebody that's going to drop everything for them. And ideally, that's not even the type of people you want to be around for real. You don't want to be around people who don't know how to sometimes hold the baton real quick so you could do your thing. You always want to have people around you that you guys could bounce off of each other. Like when you need me, I got you. And when I need you, you should be able to hold space for me too. Needing somebody may not always mean that you need them to do something for you, but to be able to give you that reassurance that, like, I'm here when you need me, or I'm over there when you're over there doing your thing. That's important to have. But once you start setting boundaries, you start to pick apart the people who won't do that for you. And that is huge in a sense where once you learn those traits in people, you know who to stay away from and you know how to keep moving with. Setting boundaries is one of the most important things when it comes to like healing and self-improvement. So I'm definitely going to be bringing some more episodes in the future about boundary setting, but let's put a pin on it for now. I want to say that the last concept that I have been implementing for the last few months is like to be a little delusional. Like you have to identify yourself as the person that you want to be. Be that in a sense of a position, like you want to start a business, so you're an entrepreneur, you want to create content, you're a content creator, you are, you know, studying to become a doctor or a lawyer. You have to assume in your brain that you are already that person. You're already her, you're already him. I don't know if it's delusional. I don't know if it's reverse psychology. I don't know what it's called. But I know that once you start doing that, your brain composition just shifts. Like your every waking moment is surrounded by that idea. It could be something as basic as telling yourself you're a good mom or a good parent or a good spouse. You know what I mean? Because sometimes our self esteem, it tricks our brain to tell us that we're not that great of parents. We're not doing that well as spouses. We're not. But once you tell yourself, like, I'm a damn good woman, I'm a good man, I'm a good dad, I'm a good mom, like, every position that you're in, you're thinking about, okay, how can I fulfill that role as a good parent, as a good spouse, as a good employee, as a good business owner, as a content creator, as anything. Once you assume in your brain, you tell your brain that, like, this is who I am, you will notice that your daily actions will revolve around that person, whether you're there or not. And you will find yourself in position and in spaces to have that resources that I was talking about earlier. You will find yourself making time to do those things and having the finances to start it up. And eventually that abundance will come over time. The resources, everything will fall into place. And then you're going to look back in 6 months and you're going to be like, I never thought I could get this far. We talk about sometimes how small acts is what makes big progress. Those small acts are easier to do when you've already told yourself that you're there or you're her or you're him. You're that person already. So if, let's say, for example, you wanted to start a podcast and and in your brain, you tell yourself, I have a podcast. So what time am I recording? What equipment do I need? What time am I editing? What time am I posting? What platforms am I posting? You already think about, what am I doing? You're not even thinking about, how am I going to do it? You've already told your brain, this is who I am. So what do I have to do? I don't know. It's a psychology thing. I'm no psychologist, but this is my theory. If you tell yourself that this is who you are, you're already going to shift into that person and you're just going to be that person and you're just going to be better and you're just going to evolve. And like I said, over time, you're going to see how far you've come. These are just a few of the things that I've been doing for the last like few months. I could say ever since the starting of this year. And not only have I seen a difference in how I feel and how I make decisions and how I move, but the energies around me have shifted as well because I didn't give them any choice but to. My boundaries will be respected. I will be a priority. And I am who I said I'm going to be because I said so. When those energies shift around you, it's easier for you to move in that space and be that version, be that new version of yourself that you want to be, to step into that purpose or to even identify and find that purpose. Like you could finally say, I'm becoming who I want to be. Like I am her. I'm him. Like It feels so different. It's kind of hard to explain, but the best way that I can explain it is to say that you will feel yourself becoming that person, and you have no choice but to fall in line with it. You have no choice but to evolve. And the people who are meant to come with you are going to come with you. And the people who aren't, you're going to have to grieve it. But at the end of the day, the most important thing is that when you are healing and when you are on the journey and you hit that wall, you got to tell yourself it's okay to start over. Because starting over means that you have to grieve that old version of you so that you can become the best version of who you are meant to become. And like I said, there's so many things that come along with healing. So if there's anything that you've been doing, let me know, leave a comment, because I am not above taking more tactics even for myself in my own journey as I continue to start over. Thank you so much for having a moment with me today. And if this resonated with you, make sure that you share it with someone that you love. And also make sure that you are subscribed to all platforms so you can stay up to date with Moments with Muddy. Until next time, be gentle with yourself.